on, babies. Hi, babies. Hi, babies. Uh. Go play? Babies won't go. My sweet babies. Mama, sweet babies. Phone. Just phone. Hi, pretty bird. Yes, pretty bird. Hi, Layla. Let's go play at the pond. They're about to get really excited. Wait for it. Usually they start. There we go. Sorry, lost connection for a sec. Usually do right about that corner. And there go Dove taking off. As spring approaches, slowly, I wonder how much activity we're gonna have here when it comes to like baby animals and stuff. Like, are we gonna see little deer like outside of our area? Of course, like because we do have fencing around here, but makes me wonder like, are we gonna have a little Bambi that gets lost in our yard? Are we gonna have little baby bunnies that I'm gonna have to save from the cats? How many times am I gonna have to save some mice and some rats from my cats? As much as we have the barn cats to like keep the population under control, if I see it, y'all, what am I supposed to do? Come on. Like, seriously. Like, you know? And for anybody that's new or doesn't know us, these are my geese. They are my babies. No, I did not take them from the wild. And yes, in the US, you can legally own Canada geese. If you Google it, it's going to tell you no, you can't. Okay? But that's because it's a very, like, specific niche of, like, area of breeding and owning birds of, like, a hobby area that's not very common. And these birdies are all most of them are hand-raised, which is why they're tame. Look at them loving this pond now. I am wearing my boots so I can walk in a little bit. I'm not wearing my waders though. Hey, babies. There you go. See, I knew you guys would be happy at the pond. Love this pond. I need to put on my waders and go find all the trash. Look, spot trash right there. And for anybody who doesn't know, waders are basically like, it's what you see them fishermen wear when they do like fly fishing with the really long fishing lines. It basically is like a bodysuit that keeps you from getting wet, and it's got boots attached to it, and it goes up to like your chest, so you can literally walk into the water like all the way almost to your chest. And it gives me the ability to, like, say in the evening when it's lockup time and I need to put my geese in a coop, it gives me the ability to like walk into the water and get my geese out of the water when they want to be stubborn. The reason they don't spend the night out on the pond, it wouldn't really be much of a big deal if my lifestyle guardian dog was fully raised and fully trained, but he's only 6 months old and they're not really trustworthy till they're about 2 years old. So it's going to be a minute. Until then, at least until then, they're going to need to spend their nights in a coop. Hi, babies. Come on. Come here. Hi, babies. Hi, pretty bird. Yes, are you happy? Hi, babies. Are you having so much fun? Are you having so much fun? Are you guys having so much fun? So just so you guys know, the only way that you can legally own Canada geese or any other exotic breed of bird that lives in the US in the wild is that you need to, one, get them from somebody who is licensed to sell them, who has a permit to either breed and or sell them and or transport them or ship them or whatever the version is. So different states have some extra regulations there in some areas, but generally the base rule is that they must have, one, a document which I call a permit. We can argue about whether or not it's a permit. It's a document that basically gives me permission to own them. Okay, so I tend to call it a permit, though some people who are very specific about technicalities, they call it not a permit. It is what it is. I call it a permit. Anyway, so basically you need one piece of paper that makes it legal for you to keep them. So this is the kind of piece of paper that I have. I can own my birds, and my birds can have babies, and I can keep the babies. So, like, that's what I'm legally allowed to do with my birds. Now, if I would want to breed and sell my birds, so if I wanted my birds to have babies that I would then want to hatch and then sell to other people, that would be something I would need what's called a breeder's permit for. Everyone agrees that one's called a permit. But y'all would be probably surprised, but there's always that one niche of people, like, in every group. It doesn't matter if it's dog breeding, if it's bird breeding, if it's exotic, it doesn't matter what kind of breeding it is. There's always, Peach, leave her alone. And this is breeding behavior. Peach. Peach. Nope. Peach. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to stop that right now because I'm not wearing my waders. I'm probably going to have to separate out Peach, which is the one with the very orange beak. The reason why is because Dino, the one who was just mated, the female, this is Peach, the male. Peach is Dino's sibling, and that means that going forward for the next about 6 weeks, I'm not going to be able to hatch any of Dino's babies because of what just happened. Because the thing with birds is that it's not the same as it is with humans, where, like, if they're related, you can't hatch their eggs. That's not as much of an issue. It can be an issue. It's not as much of an issue, okay? But if they're siblings, that's where your chances of something going wrong goes up exponentially. So, yeah. There you go. Let's see if I can reach that. Hey, Bert, can I have that? How far can I go? Hey, Bert. What are you doing? Hi, Osmond. Nope, I'm not a goose, pretty bird. I don't care what you think. I'm not a goose. Hey, babies. See, this is not something y'all should do in the wild. Do not copy this. Again, these animals are hand raised. So they know me, they trust me, they're used to me. But like I said, if you want to be somebody, if you're a farmer, if you're somebody who owns land, and you're somebody who's like, hey, I love these exotic birds, or I love these wild birds, and I'd love to own one or two of them, step one is going to be to find a legal breeder. Okay? Step two is to make sure that you do your proper research. And here's the thing, just calling your local fishing games in many cases isn't going to be enough, because even they are not often familiar with all the possibilities and variants for different breeds and species, and how it works with the law, and which ones require a permit, and which ones require to be pinioned, and which ones require to have a band. There's all these different regulations that are on different species and different breeds of animals, that basically makes it nearly impossible for the regular just receptionist or even the regular warden to really know about all the different variants, unless it's a common thing that's done. And this is not a common thing that's done. Even my local warden was surprised to know that I was able to own them. So, and he'd been doing that job for 10 plus years in this area. So again, like I said, you'd have to make sure to do your own research. There's two laws that you have to take into consideration. There's the federal law, and then there's your state law. So the federal law is pretty basic. The state law is where it generally gets more complicated, and where there's all these different variations depending on what state you live in. There's going to be different requirements, different exceptions, that, like in some states you can't breed them, like you can't sell them ever. You may be able to own them legally, but you can never legally sell them. I want to get that bottle out of here. I'm gonna get that. That's not a toy. No, you cannot have it. The heck is that doing in here? We've only been living here for about 6 months now, so I am still working on cleaning out this pond. Actually found a bowling ball in a pond too. But yeah, one of the reasons why I make videos is because I'm trying to show people that Canada geese, and geese in general, are not these like evil, horrible beings, okay? These are not the devil's servants, you know? Like, they're not these horrible cobra chickens that would just beat you for no reason and just come at you and are just so aggressive. That is not true. That is not how they are at all. They're actually very loyal. There's a lot of facts about Canada geese a lot of people don't know. For an example, did you know a Canada goose, while they're migrating, while they're flying, did you know that they can take naps while they're flying? Like, they can literally go into a state that is sleep-like while they're in flight. They can also fly upside down. Like, a Canada goose can turn upside down while they're flying. And another fun fact about Canada geese, or amazing fact about Canada geese, is actually that they mate for life. So once a Canada goose is mated with another Canada goose, they're a pair. They're married, okay? And they're going to stay together for the rest of their life, for as long as they live. Depending on how long they've been together. So if they've been together for several years and one of their mate, one of them passes away and for some reason is killed by a hunter or taken by a predator or something, the surviving spouse will often, well, point one, they will always mourn the loss of their mate. So they will go into a full mourning period where they will be extremely sad, very depressed. Often they will not eat or drink anything, and they will barely be holding on for a decent amount of time usually. It usually lasts for a minimum of weeks. It can last months. It can even last years. And in some cases, it can cause them their life, as in they become so depressed from losing their mate that they pass away. And this is Blue, and that's Charlie behind her. And here's Pretty Bird. And that is mine. Anyways, in some cases, the Canada goose may meet another gander or another goose, as in the gander is the boy version of a goose, and the goose is the general term for geese, but it's also the term for female. But in some cases, they will meet another goose and they will mate again and then remain with this one for the rest of their lives. But in other cases, in many cases where the geese have been mated for a long time and then lose their spouse, they will actually never mate again, and they will only focus on helping out their gaggle. The gaggle is the term for a group of geese. It's a gaggle. And then when they're in flight, up in the sky, they're actually not called a flock of geese flying overhead. It's actually a skein or skein of geese going overhead. Most commonly, though, people will refer to them as a flock of geese or a gaggle of geese. Yeah, Pretty Bird right here, he's actually a hybrid. Yes, you are. And this means that he is mixed between two different kinds of geese. He's actually mixed between a Canada goose and a domestic goose. So his mom was actually to the best of our knowledge, his mom was a Chinese goose, and his daddy was a Canada goose. And it created him, which is a mix, which is why he looks different from the other Canada geese, why the other Canada geese have black feet and he has orange feet. Their cheek patches are more refined, whereas his is much larger. He has spots all over his neck that have actually shown up throughout his life. There you go, butt in the air. They're foraging the ground of the pond. But this is why he looks so different, because he is a mix between those two different kinds of geese. And just to make very clear, taking a Canada goose, their eggs, or a gosling, meaning a baby Canada goose, out of the wild, unless you find them to be injured or orphaned or abandoned in some form or way, and you are convinced that they require imminent help, it is illegal to interfere with them or to take them from the wild. Now, even if you interfere with them or take them from the wild, it is illegal to keep them. So, the wild ones. You cannot keep a wild Canada goose. This is why Google will tell you it's illegal to keep Canada geese. So, the thing that you can do if you want to help them is the way you can legally go about it is you have basically three choices. Choice number one is to contact a warden, but there is a decent chance and this is why I'm confused about whether or not Dino is a boy or a girl. Because Dino is the one that was mounted by Peach, which we know is a male. But then Dino just went and mounted Layla, which is a female. Layla's a female for sure, but we have no idea what Dino is. And this both just happened on the same live stream. This is why we're confused about Dino. We have no idea if she's mounting Layla because it's a dominance show, which can happen, or if this is I'm a male thing. So, no idea. Anyway, the point I was going to make was that when you find an injured Canada goose or an orphaned Canada goose, a gosling, a baby, or what you believe to be abandoned eggs, one, make sure you do your research about what an abandoned goose nest actually entails, because they will lay eggs and leave them by themselves and hide them. Like they will cover them with some debris and leave them there until they have laid enough eggs to start sitting on them. So if you think that there's an abandoned goose nest, chances are this is just a goose who's laying eggs and who's just laying eggs until she gets to a certain amount before she starts incubating them. So chances are the nest is actually not abandoned. And there are some telltale signs you can look for to try and ensure that you're not taking away eggs from a goose who's working really, really hard on trying to create a family for herself and for themselves. But the legal thing to do would be either to contact a warden. If you contact a warden, it's going to go one of two ways. Either the warden is going to come in and basically help you out if he's a nice guy, but in many cases, a warden may come in and actually put down the goose if it's an injured goose. But in some cases, in other cases, if you've got a nice warden or a good warden, he'll actually come in and he will contact a rehabber, and the rehabber is the one that basically will come and rescue the goose, help the goose, and basically be the savior of the goose. Okay, so your best bet is to contact. It's been storming out here and flooding, so we're actually getting extra trash getting moved up from the ground, which is great because then I can find it. Anyways, but a rehabber is going to be the person who actually takes the time, the days, the weeks, day and night, or even months in some cases, to rehabilitate the goose, help them heal, and then eventually set them free. It's all in the name, rehabber, rehabilitate the animal, to rehab the animal. The goal is for them to return to the wild, return to their mate, return to their goslings, to their nest, whatever the scenario is. You good there? Huh? What's up, bro? What you doing? You have any attitude now? What's wrong? What? What? What, buddy? Oh my goodness, you're so mad. You're so mad. Why are you so mad? Yeah. This right here is completely normal behavior. It doesn't matter if you hand raise your ganders or not. Chances are, around mating season, they're going to have an attitude. Okay? That's because that's part of their DNA. That's part of their instincts, part of their DNA. That's how they're made. It's part of their species. Like, that's just how they are. Geese are going to have an attitude around mating season, and mating season is fast approaching, as you saw earlier in this live stream. But yeah, if you want to rescue a little gosling or a goose that's injured or orphaned or whatever, your best bet is to get in contact with a rehabber. If you have no waterfowl rehabbers, or you can't find one, or they don't have any space, another thing you can do to find help is to look up waterfowl sanctuaries and transport the animal yourself, meaning that you would either trap or take the animal, depending on what the scenario is, whether or not they're easily grabbed or whether or not you'd have to use some finesse to get a hold of them. But you would then bring them to a sanctuary or to a rehabber yourself if they can't come out to do that. The thing is that it's illegal to do that unless your goal is to get them to a rehabber or to a sanctuary. So another possibility, if you're struggling to find any resources, is actually to try to look for resources outside of your state. So for an example, there is an amazing sanctuary in North Carolina. It's called the Carolina Waterfowl Rescue. Okay. They're a massive sanctuary. They work with wild birds and with domestic birds. They work with many different animals, actually, not just with geese, but many different animals. And say, for an example, you could contact a place like that, even if that's not your state. Okay, mind you, Carolina Waterfowl Rescue will accept birds from other states as well. But they have volunteers that actually will transport whenever they can. But the point I'm getting at is that if you contact another sanctuary in another state, like for an example, the Carolina Waterfowl Rescue, they may be able to help you with a directory of what you have available in your area. So don't be scared to contact a rehabber or a sanctuary that's away from where you live, or that outside of your general area or outside of your reach, because some of them have volunteers who will transport. In some cases, they themselves will go ahead and they will travel further to come rescue an animal. And in some cases, or generally in most cases, they will be 100% willing to come and help out and, or give you information of where you can reach out to and who's in your area to be able to help with the animals that you're trying to help. So, let's see, when you do raise geese, so let's say you legally acquire a Canada goose or from a breeder, or let's say you go to your local Tractor Supply and you buy yourself a gosling or two. The first thing I would always recommend is always get at least two. Okay, goslings, geese in general are flock animals. They need a gaggle, they need friends, they need a mate. It's just what they naturally go for. They're very inclined to want to find a mate. It's instinctually just a very strong drive for them to look for a significant other to spend their life with. That's just how they are, and that's what their instincts want them to do. Doesn't Layla look beautiful? Look at her, just grooming away. Gorgeous lady. You're so pretty, Layla. You're so pretty. I can see why all the boys are crazy about you. Huh, girl? Layla's an American buff. She's a purebred, show quality American buff. And she is gorgeous. Yes, you are gorgeous. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, if you do get a little gosling, I would recommend that you always get two, at least two, and that you do extensive research before you add geese to your farm or to your homestead or to your property. Geese, when they're babies, they imprint on whoever they believe their parent is. And when they imprint on you, you are literally their mom and or their dad. And for goslings, in the wild, their base instinct is to stay with their mom and or dad of all hours of the day, constantly, nonstop. Okay, so if you were to leave them in a box by themselves all day after you cuddled with them for, say, like a whole weekend, and they imprinted on you, and then you just leave them, what's actually going to happen is they're going to struggle with so much anxiety, and they're going to be so panicked and so terrified, because to them, losing their parent is the equivalent of death. So, and they're going to desperately be crying for you nonstop, and it will be annoying because it'll be loud. Okay. But they're not doing this to be annoying. They're not doing this to be ridiculous, and they're not being ridiculous. They literally, in their mind, their instinct tells them that if you leave them, they're vulnerable to attack. Well, go catch up then, Goofy. So, I always, when I have a gosling, my goslings spend just about 24/7 with me. Almost all day, as much as I possibly can, those goslings are with me. I generally set up their brooder right next to my bed in my bedroom so they can see me at night. And this is one of the reasons why I have such a good relationship with my geese, and why, even though my gander is very defensive and very protective right now of his gaggle and of his girls, he is still not attacking me full force, because he considers me to be a friend. He considers me to be his mother. I raised Pretty Bird, this gander right here. I hatched him. So he's known me as his mother his whole life. And I've never, ever hurt him. Stupid stickies. You okay? How you doing, bud? How you doing, bud? Yeah? What's up? But this kind of relationship can only happen with your geese if you not only raise them from scratch and spend as much time with them as possible, but also spend time with them as adults, like on a daily basis. Like, I spent probably a good 30 minutes to an hour at least every day just with my geese, just to nurture that relationship that I have with them. And Pretty Bird right here is about to be 5 years old. So him's getting up there in his age. But the great thing about geese is that if you have, hi Isabella, if you have a goose that you love just so dearly, if you care for them well and you do your research and you do what you're supposed to do and you keep them in a way where they're safe and you just do what you can to make sure that they're completely okay, and if you can manage to keep them protected from predators, and if you can manage to keep them protected from deadly sicknesses, deadly viruses or bacteria, what's actually going to end up happening is that your goose has the ability to live 20 plus years. So these animals can live for a very long time. Let's see, the oldest Canada goose to ever be shot by a hunter in the wild was, I think it was 33 years old. And the oldest Canada goose to have ever lived in captivity that passed away was 48. 48 years old is the oldest Canada goose that's been documented in captivity. So, yeah, as you guys can imagine, that's pretty awesome in the sense of getting to have an animal for that long that you love and that you cherish and that you want to have around. But also understand how big of a commitment it is. Because when you do leave them after being connected to them, just like they mourn the loss of a mate, they're going to mourn the loss of you. And it's going to break their heart. And in many ways, it's very similar to parrots. If you attach with them and they attach to you, and you abandon them, or you leave them behind, or you give them away, they're going to mourn you. In their mind, it's like you died. And it's going to cause them pain. You know what I mean? Anyways, it is definitely important that if you want to own a Canada goose or geese in general, that you learn about their body language, about their general behaviors, and that you want to try to learn about the signs to look for signs of something not being right. So like you want to learn how to find out, like, are they sick? Are they healthy? And one of the reasons why this is so important is because geese, they are masters at hiding sicknesses, much like any bird is. Just about any bird out there is absolutely like they are so skilled at hiding when they're sick. So it's so important that when you own these birds that you do your best to understand their body language and learn about them, so that if they are sick, you can spot it and hopefully save them before it gets to that point of it getting too bad. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop this live now. Been here 30 minutes. I've got some things I need to take care of. I'm going to let the goosies forage out here today. It's another great thing about geese. They don't necessarily need a whole lot of feed. What they need is grass. Best thing you can do for a goose is give them access to grass. Charlie, are you limping? Mama feet. Pretty bird. All right. Charlie, you need to rest, Mama. I'm thinking Charlie might have hurt her foot a little bit. Hey. Yeah, that's not safe for you guys. See, crap like this I need to clean up all over the place. It's ridiculous how much that crap is out here. Anyways, we'll go ahead and let the gooses have their fun. Go grab the trash I took out of the pond. And then I'll be back to check on them in probably about an hour or so. Alrighty, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing Goosies, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.